Coming up on today's episode of Parasport Nation, the Canada Games are in full swing. We have the CEO of the Games and the athletes on the ground joining the show. You won't want to miss it. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smythe and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into Parasport Nation. I'm your host, Alex Smythe. It's a bit different of an episode today because normally at this point I would say, and joined by my co-host as always, Nathan Clement. Nathan's not here. Instead, we have the privilege of being joined by a legend in the AMI space, Kelly McDonald. Thank you, sir, for stepping up and joining me as co-host on today's episode.
And we know that Nathan basically said, look, I've been in there once with him. I don't need to be on the air with that guy again, for goodness sakes. Thank Nathan. Thank you, Alex, for the invite. Really appreciate it. Always love to talk sports in any fashion.
Yeah, and so this is such a jam-packed episode. We're doing full coverage of the Canada Summer Games. We got the CEO joining us. We have an athlete interviewed we're going to get to today. But before we get into any of that, I want to break the ice with some Hockey Canada news, Kelly. I know you love hockey as much as I do, but this comes from Team Canada's para ice hockey program because there's been a change when it comes to the coaching staff. So this is from a post that Hockey Canada put on Facebook. Boris Rybalka has been named the head coach of Canada's national para ice hockey team for the 2025-26 season. We thank Russ Harrington and Mike Fountain for their dedication to the team and our athletes during their time with the para program. The interesting thing about this is the fact that there were four coaches on that national team. The one not named, friend of the program, Greg Westlake. I do hear some rumblings that he is still involved on that national team. The extent and how he's involved is going to change. So what we have to do is we got to keep our eyes and ears peeled for next week when they have a camp in Calgary for that national team. Maybe we'll get some more clarification, see how things play out there. So we'll definitely keep you at home abreast of the situation when we get more information. But Kelly, I want to get your thoughts on this because it seems quite unusual. I don't know is the right word, but this is a bold change to take place maybe 6 months out from the Paralympic Games. Like, I don't know if I was going to make a change at coaching, I would have done this sooner than that.
You would think so. I mean, we all know Boris has credentials. We all know knows systems. And with this, it's a, hey, you know what? Let's move from here to here. And we know that things are going to be really good. We know the attention to detail. I would be quite nervous on systems, probably if it was somebody else in that sense. But the connection there and the knowledge of the sport is really what's going to lead the way here. I also think the respect for Boris really has a lot to be said of accomplishments and what the players, everyone, he's got the ability to get your ear. I do want to mention the Greg Westlake thing is really interesting because Greg has a lot of different opportunities around. We know Greg. We've spoke to him before. We know how he feels about the sport, whether it's on ice, coaching, mentoring people to be there, and what he does in representing the sport. Anxious to see where that shoe drops.
Yeah, so like I said, that's hopefully we'll get some clarification next week at the training camp. Maybe the rest of the staff, we find out who else is going to be on that staff for the new head coach, Boris Rybalka, because Mike Fountain was the assistant head coach. Russ Harrington was the head coach. Boris was one of those assistant coaches as well. If nothing else, you got two holes you got to fill on that team. So hopefully, the changes lead to a positive because, they did have some recent success last year at the World Championships, beating the U.S. Obviously, this year getting the silver medal. It's all leading to those games. It's more storylines, more excitement. We're definitely going to be wanting to follow that. But Another major kind of sports news in this world is the Canada Summer Games, and that's what we're following for the rest of today's episode because they're in full swing, and we have the privilege to have Karen Sherriffs, the CEO of the Canada Summer Games, join the program. I had a chance to chat with her the other day about how the games are unfolding. Here's our conversation with Karen Sherriffs. Karen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So obviously we're halfway through the games at this point, a little bit more than that. How have the games been going so far? There's been a lot of tumultuous natures in and around the games themselves, but how has things on the ground been for you?
Oh, well, we're just starting week 2 here. We had turnaround day on Sunday, and I think week 1 just went fabulous. We certainly faced a number of challenges with the wildfires very near to our communities here and we also the Air Canada strike. But throughout it all, our team of staff and volunteers were able to pivot and move and change to ensure the athletes were able to continue to play. So we've heard rave reviews about week 1 and lots of smiling faces here for week 2.
I'm sure it's been incredibly busy for you, but what's been the highlight from week 1 for you?
Oh, I think the highlight has been just watching these athletes compete. They've trained for so long to be able to, come and be at this level where they are able to finally showcase all of their talents, compete against the very best in the country. And to be able to set the stage for them to do that has certainly been a privilege and an honor for us here at the Host Society, our board, our staff, and all the volunteers that are supporting this.
Well, I want to talk a bit about you and your journey to this point, because you've been involved with the Canada Games since 1999 and then eventually taking over as a CEO in early 2022. What's been the most meaningful turning point or evolution in your journey so far with connection to the Canada Games?
Yeah, well, like I said, I started with the Host Society as a sport coordinator in 1999, and been able to have the opportunity then to go as mission staff, assistant chef, and chef de mission for Team Newfoundland and Labrador, lead the City of St. John's through the bid process with our co-chairs of the bid, Kim Keating and Carl Smith, who then transitioned to our co-chairs of our board, and to be able to see the games from all angles, understanding what it means to be on the chef teams from the provincial territorial side, and the expectation on the host to be able to ensure we're ready and prepared to host, but then also on the other side of building a team that's planning and ready to execute the games for these athletes is really gets a wide perspective, but it's certainly been an amazing journey throughout the Canada Games. My Canada Games experienced so many different provinces and territories and communities across our country, and just meeting the people that met along the way. I really feel there's not a province I could go and there wouldn't be somebody I could call upon and for anything. And it's really certainly creates that family and support. And I think that's what sport does for people.
Absolutely, and just being able to speak with some of the athletes and the staff who are on the ground there so far, you get that real sense that there's just such a strong community for sport and parasport when these games come together, when these communities come together. I'm curious, from those early days in 1999 to now, like how has you've seen the Canada Games themselves evolve during these years?
Yeah, I think you certainly have seen the evolution, especially through the transfer knowledge program, the standards that have been set, if for us to be able to host, and that standards from everything from field to play to how we will deliver on the food, transportation, our, torch relay, inclusion areas, our HR, like every functional area, really coming with that playbook for us to kind of start as a host society. And I think every province and territory has a uniqueness when we host, but it really kind of gives you a bit of a guide. And I've seen that as you look at the evolution of social media and to be able to really promote this and see the great stories every single day, and multiple times throughout the day. I think it's really showcasing what our country has and what it's done for sport. And these athletes, for some of them, it'll be the pinnacle of their athletic career, and for others, they'll go on to be part of Team Canada and for professional sports. So, you really have seen that, and it's really been something very interesting as I've since 1999 to 2025.
You mentioned each province, each community has that uniqueness that they bring to these games. What does St. John's offer in terms of that uniqueness to these games currently?
Yeah, I think, one of the things we have said, I've been to a lot of games, and our footprint for this games is very, very small. Our furthest venue was week one, and it was the Royal Newfoundland Yacht Club that hosted sailing about 26 kilometers from the Athletes Village, which is really not very far. We did not have to have any satellite villages. We were able to host everything between St. John's, Mount Pearl, Conception Bay South, Paradise, and Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, and just really creating that feeling in a smaller footprint. And I think everybody is well aware that the games are here and what's happening, and that's been really evident through the immense support that we've gotten in every venue cheering on these athletes. The stands have been really full, especially when Newfoundland and Labrador are playing, but we certainly saw it in the medal matches as well, with teams from across the country playing.
What is some of the unique challenges when it comes to planning a games like this one been? Because as you mentioned, like this is one where you have everyone centralized in one village this time around, which isn't always the case. So what were some of the unique challenges that went into the planning and coordination of these games?
Yeah, I think it's just ensuring always ensuring that we had 25 capital projects, to prepare our venues and the athletes village for all of these athletes. And, just ensuring you're working with a number of different groups and venues on preparing for that, ensuring that we meet the proper timelines, and we can really set the stage with, fabulous venues for them to compete at. But also this games is now being called the biggest games ever. We had almost 2,600 for week two and 2,500 for week two of athletes, coaches, and managers. So just that short sheer volume of people and being able to, sufficiently prepare the village here at Memorial University for, to be able to host them, house them. The village is their home away from home. So that was no small feat. And always, you certainly rely upon that massive volunteer base, and with over 5,000 volunteers needed to execute the games, and just ensuring we can always meet that target. And we were really lucky enough that we were always ahead of the game with that. But still, people had to come, show up. It's early mornings and late nights, and just who's able to do that. So really proud of the team for always continuing to push and ensure we are able to achieve those and overcome any challenges that were faced.
What is the secret ingredient, would you describe, that really makes an event like this, a competition like this work? Is it the volunteers? Is it, the coordination? Is it just the athletes and the coaches being there? What is that secret ingredient that makes this competition stand out?
I think pre-games, it's really about how your community embraces the Canada Games coming to the community. I think that was really evident. We have 80 different partners through our revenue generation. So just to have that sheer volume, building a really, really great and strong staff base who, can work with so many different community partners, volunteer, different league groups, organizations. And I think that's a really key. And then I think games time, it's really seeing how these athletes, coaches, parents and spectators embrace what we planned so very long for, and how they really enjoy that experience. I think that's a testament to how the games are and the success of the games.
I also wanted to touch on because you mentioned the different facilities, the venues, but I wanted to touch on the Fortis Canada Games Complex because that was a purposely built facility for these games. Can you take us through some of the kind of the highlight features and how important it is to have that complex for these games when it comes to things like the accessibility, the access for athletes, and the capabilities that it had for a competition like this, where you need something that can host a multi-sport competition?
Yeah, when we first assessed, and you're going way back here now in 2020, when we were looking at the standards as it applied to the technical standards of the field of play and what we had to meet, and assessing what we had in our community and what we needed to either do improvements on or build from scratch. Athletics was certainly an athletics facility was certainly one of those that we had to put some focus and attention on, and we were really thrilled to be able to get the design that was done. It's a world-class facility. The track, you mentioned the accessibility features, and it was really built purposely to ensure that everyone could use and enjoy this facility. Athletics this week, we had para athletes. Last week, we had them in cycling and swimming. Just amazing. And you really want that inclusive environment for all as they come to the Canada Games. So, in addition to the athletics track that was built, there's also a FIFA Pro Turf soccer pitch and an indoor facility. So immensely proud, what a legacy left for our community to continue to build upon, growing the sport of athletics. Soccer is extremely popular here, so another field is already in well use, and amazing for these athletes to come, and they're the first ones to really compete on this track, and we're really, really proud of that.
What's been one like behind the scenes moment that's kind of summed up the games in St. John's in 2025 for you?
Oh my gosh, I think there's just so many, so many moments, but what I will say is, games, it's every single day. You're just looking, what will the weather bring? What will this bring? And we were really challenged with so many things last week. And I think for me, it was how everyone responded. And we had to move lacrosse to in the middle of the night, basically, to another venue. No signage or pageantry. And it was a pretty emotional moment when we walked in that next morning, 12 o'clock, we're packing up all their gear at the Paradise Double Ice rink. And by 11 o'clock, they're playing at a new arena. And just to kind of walk in and what the coaches and athletes said, just thank you for like pivoting so quickly, hardly any interruption to their sports schedule. And there was a feel in there that just a support from so many different people, and an understanding that they recognize and knew what we were challenged with as a host, but also our community, and and the first responders responding to fires and people impacted by their homes. So I really think that was pretty special for me to really see how people came together and really supported each other.
Yeah, that resilience and kind of a positive attitude and just ingenuity really pays off, especially when it's such a great scale like this. I want to end the conversation on this with you, Karen. You mentioned legacy earlier, but I want you to expand on that. Like, what do you hope the legacy of St. John's hosting these games will be down the road for the community?
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of a Canada Games, and I think throughout our whole journey here, everything we purchased, our capital projects, was really looking at we're going to host these games for 18 days, host the country here, and you know, just thrilled to do so. But our community will be better for it post games, and all the equipment that gets left behind, almost over $80 million in new capital, capital infrastructure, the volunteer base that have grown, that have been trained. And let me tell you, week one, everyone's kind of learning their roles. And week two, they're just moving and cruising here now. And just to have that base, but also, our minor technical officials, people learning the different sports and roles. the financial legacy that'll be left behind. I just think that was always in our decision making as we were what impact will it have on community post games, and really important to always look and focus on that, how we can continue to do that, and how we can support and build our sports systems even better post games.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Karen, I can't wait to follow along the second week worth of competitions. Best of luck for you and your team on the ground there. And hopefully things finish a lot more smoothly than they started at the games. But, I'm sure if something else comes up, you'll handle it with grace like you already have.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
And that was my conversation with Karen Sherriffs. And before, Kelly, we react to that, why don't we hear from one of the athletes themselves, wheelchair racer Dante Cormier, representing Team New Brunswick. He's already collected some hardware during these games, so here's my conversation with Dante. Dante, thanks so much for chatting with me.
It's nice being here.
So you're 18, and yet you're already ranked number 2 overall in Canada and number 20 globally in your classification. How does it feel to have that kind of success at still a relatively young age for yourself?
It's great. I have a great support system and a group around me, and when you have a great group around you, it's easier to do better. So I'm very lucky with the people I surround myself with.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. And I mean, it's already led to some success for you already at these Canada Games with a silver in the 1500. Take us through that race, that competition. How did you feel when you crossed the finish line, and just how did you feel going into that environment?
It's a bit of a sloppy race in the sense that it was rainy and windy, so everybody was about like 20 seconds slower than they usually are, like at at nationals. So I don't think anybody was happy with the time, but to be able to deal with the rain and the wind, that's something that you have to get used to as a racer, and luckily, I've dealt with those in conditions before, so I got pretty used to it, and luckily with the RASA points and everything, I was able to pull through and get the silver medal. Yeah, it's such a phenomenal result for yourself, and you still have a couple more races and competitions that you're doing while at the games. How are you preparing for those, and like how are you feeling as you kind of make your way through the Canada Games? Well, the 400 and the 100 are definitely my stronger events. The 1500 is definitely my weakest out of those three, so I'm a lot more pumped for the 4 and the 1 than I was for the 15, but I think just staying calm, stay in my room, eat well, and not waste energy on things I don't need to waste energy on, and when the race comes, being ready. And how are things going in St. John's? You mentioned the weather being a bit of a factor. I know last week it was things like the wildfire smoke, the Air Canada strike, all playing a role in impacting kind of the mental preparation. But it sounds like you're trying to stay as focused as you can. Yeah, there was a rain yesterday, but the forecast is looking pretty good for the next couple days. So luckily, I think my 400 later this afternoon, there'll be nothing. And for the finals, for the 4 and the 1, there should be nothing as well. So I'm pretty happy with those conditions. And if it stays like that, I'll be quite all right. Now, I had the chance to interview other wheelchair racers in the past. One that comes to mind is Paralympic medalist Austin Smink, who is very particular about his setup for his racing chair and being very meticulous on how he prepares his equipment. What preparation, what kind of process do you go through with making sure your gear, your equipment is set up for a race? Well, I get on the track early, make sure that I'm set for my lane. I'll look later this afternoon, see what lane I need to set for, and I'll get on early, make sure I'm not drifting left or right, I stay center. And then just making sure that I'm not touching things that I don't need to touch, and don't want to mess anything up or get in my own head about did I touch this, did I mess that up. Just keeping things how I like them. So
you also had a chance to compete not only nationally but internationally in a couple of competitions. How do those experiences compare to what you're experiencing right now at the Canada Games? Yeah, it's truly a special and unique opportunity. This is, in talking with the CEO, this is the largest Canada Games that has ever been put on, just from the sheer number of athletes and people in St. John. So it's truly that special experience for you. You mentioned that, the 1500 isn't your favorite race. You prefer the 100 or 200 meter. Out of those two, is there one you prefer more than the other?
Yeah, it's definitely the 100. I like going fast. That's it. Just going fast, getting it over with, and seeing what speeds I can bring myself up to.
Hey, I mean, your results have shown that you like to go fast, so I can definitely appreciate that. Lastly, for you, once these games are done, what are your goals post games? Like, do you want to continue on and continue to develop yourself as an athlete? Are there other competitions you're looking to go to?
Yeah. Well, once the games are done, I'd like to obviously continue. I got school coming up, so I gotta figure out what's going on with that and see how my classes are. But I would definitely like to continue the sport, and I fell short, just one spot short of Worlds. I was a 26th athlete out of 25 selected, so I won't be going to Worlds, but just seeing what opportunities come to me and taking them when they arrive. So.
Well, Dante, I wish you nothing but the best. Good luck in the next two, the 100 and 200 meter races, and going forward after these games are done, and as you continue your racing career down the line.
Thank you so much. It's great talking to you.
And so that was my conversation with Dante Cormier, and we also had my conversation with Karen Sherriffs. Kelly, lots of different directions we can take this conversation, but where do you want to start here? Because, I mean, it's just so impressive that this is the largest Canada Games they've ever had.
Yeah. And again, I mean, there's so much. When I hear anyone talk about racing, and when you talk about wheelchair racing and your question to Dante pertaining what does he do to get prepared, I think of the hardware, the stuff on the chair. When he says, I try to go out, check the lane out, and not do anything I shouldn't do, you're left wondering, what does that mean? I get 1500, that's long. Pacing yourself and everything like that. He has his options that, no, I'll do the 100. It's easier. I want to go fast. It fascinates me on that level alone, because as you invest yourself in the sport and develop, you learn what you need, what you don't need to do, whether it's before, on the course, or afterward, to take care of yourself and to put yourself in the best position to succeed and to perform. But I do think of all the little incremental things that have to be looked at, and that is, what do you do with that chair? The development we can always imagine, and the care they have to take when racing, but I think of just position, just your body. What does it do? What are you able to do? How do you need to tweak that chair? I found that conversation amazing. And when he mentions the weather, another element, whether it's the smoke, whether it's the slickness of the course, of the track, it's unbelievable to me. So I found that part of Dante's conversation, and of course his positive nature. Even when things don't go well and you don't achieve 26th position at didn't quite, just outside of the field what it would be, but you still hear the excitement and the positivity. That's inspiring to anybody listening in.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show the quality of the athletes that are playing and competing at these games. And, Karen talked about it in my conversation with her about how, the uncertainty of things like the wildfires, having to move facilities because of concerns around the health and safety of these athletes, wanting to make sure that they can just focus in on that competition, on that field of play, not have to worry about managing all these other factors. The team did such a good job. Within 24 hours, you're moving into another facility. The athletes are back competing. That is tremendous. And so as well, you can do those things because you have that central hub, as all the athletes are kind of set up at Memorial University as that like central hub. You have a bit more flexibility. You have more resources to pull from. And so far, it's been nothing but a tremendous success. As the final days tick down, I think we will look back at these Canada Summer Games as some of the best competitions that has been in this competition's history. So I think the sky's the limit, and I'm really excited to see how it ends. But speaking of ending, unfortunately, Kelly, we're out of time for today's episode. So we'll just have to react to more Canada Summer Games on the next episode of PSN. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.